first 3 steps.
Huge strides in the performance.
That I might not be the player I am today.
All right, here we are, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Gear. And today I'm sitting with Greg McKegg, and Greg McKegg is from St. Thomas, Ontario. Is that exactly where you're from? Or you got any little outskirt pockets like Union or
St. Thomas,
yeah, nothing, not Boxall or anything like that.
Nothing. St. Thomas, born and raised.
There you go. I mean, I've known you for a long time, since minor hockey, basically, and every summer we get a chance. You know, maybe the last 2 summers you've come back and kind of trained and been around kind of the group of guys, and now. Pretty legit. I mean, you got 90-something games in the NHL, and obviously played a ton of pro hockey already, and had a real good stint in the OHL with Erie and London, which is cool. So we'll kind of talk through that a little bit. But when you first kind of put on a pair of skates, how old were you? And I know you probably don't remember this, but how old was your dad when he shoved them on your feet?
Yeah, seriously. Geez, I must have been, I want to say 3 or 4 when I first kind of got into it, but. Yeah, it was one of those things like a lot of kids you see in Canada just loved it and fell in love with the game, and yeah, I'm pretty glad my dad got me into it.
No, it's awesome. And I mean, you think of like 2 or 3, and obviously you had no idea what you're doing, just something kind of fun and cool, and you know, you got a chance to play a little bit. And you got a sister as well to play. So did she get into hockey a little bit because of you and you playing, and then she kind of jumped into it, or was she kind of her own type of person and maybe joined up a little bit later?
Yeah, she I think she got into it pretty young too, probably around the same time I was getting into it, but she's a couple years older, and
oh, that's right. Yeah.
But she fell in love with it too, and I think she still plays a little in the winter, and obviously she went to college to play, so yeah, she did well, went to Plattsburgh, and it was kind of cool that you know, one parent was going one way and the other one was going the other way, but it was busy winters, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Growing up, do you guys ever play together? Like, you guys a little road hockey and anything like that? She beat the shit out of you, or is there anything?
Yeah, she did a little bit, no. But no, we used to run a few skates together. My dad would run a few skates or set up a few skates in the morning before school. I remember it was Friday mornings at about 7 o'clock, but it was tough getting out of bed. But once you got there, it was a lot of fun, and yeah, so we skated a few winters together.
Oh, that's cool. And then where did you play all your minor hockey? Then you must have played right at home in St. Thomas, right?
Yep, I played in St. Thomas and moved to the Chiefs.
Okay, cool. And then when did you make that jump to the Chiefs? I know Adam's kind of the year that kind of AA, AAA comes up for a lot of young guys. Yeah. So was it right away?
It was Major Adam.
Okay.
I think, is that the first year?
Yeah.
I mean, it still is?
No, now it's minor Adam. But I think when you were young, it might have been Major Adam, right?
Yeah, it was Major Adam.
So you had to play your minor Adam in St. Thomas and then jumped after that.
Yeah, I played all the way up minor Adam, start to minor Adam in St. Thomas, and made the jump to Elgin Middlesex.
Yeah, and you guys had a I don't want to say interesting, but you had a very intense group of dads as far as that group, right? And but man, it produced a lot of good players out of that age group. Like you guys were the 92, right?
92, yeah.
And you guys had a lot of a lot of extra ice, a lot of stuff in the summer, a lot of group skates. I remember being a part of some of that stuff as well. But out of that team, I mean, I don't know, I can't recall, but how many? There was a good 8 to 10 guys get drafted off that team to the OHL in the minor year, right?
Yeah, I want to say it would have been 10 for sure. I think, and it was. That minor hockey team was so much fun. Met a lot of good friends there, and there was a lot of extra stuff for sure, which was good. I mean, it's more and more now, it seems like, which is awesome. And we kind of started doing that when a lot of other teams weren't doing it.
Totally.
And it was it helped us a lot and made us a better team. And that minor hockey was so much fun. It's some of the funnest hockey I think I've played, and it was just going to the tournaments and things like that. It was just a blast. Yeah,
no, and I nowadays, what's happening now, what I find is when you look back at those age groups like 92s, 93s, 94s, and all the kind of that, let's say a decade, right? I find the groups that had real strong parents, the real strong dads and moms that got extra ice, got extra power skating skill stuff, whatever it is, those tend to be the groups that have a lot of players that go on to play. Yeah. And then every once in a while you get a gap year where maybe a lot of dads were into baseball or basketball or whatever and weren't real hockey guys, which is fine, but they don't do a lot of that extra stuff. And what I notice now with the young kids is these young kids are off the charts. Like, they're watching YouTube, they're looking at videos, parents are doing a ton of extra stuff. Yeah. So the skill set of these young kids is unbelievable. Like, it's unreal. My big question is going to be, well, in 10 years when their draft year comes up, are they going to translate? Like, are they going to have those intangibles like that work ethic and that let's call it, that brass, that balls, that they're going to be able to play hard through stuff, and that's the stuff I think that is more, you can have all the skill in the world and you've seen it. Like, even on that team, let's call it 10, 12 guys that got drafted to the OHL. How many guys went on to play professional hockey out of that?
I mean, I think maybe me and Nathan.
That's what it, right?
I
Bully is
think,
probably the only one, yeah.
And he
left for a
left
couple.
early.
Yeah.
And I know another guy, Stephen Shipley, got drafted, but
Yeah.
that might have been it.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, you got to stick with it, but it's a long road, but it's a lot of fun.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I'm sure you catch up with some of these guys in the summer and in the off season,
yeah.
you get a chance to see them, and Bully you probably see throughout the year when
Yeah.
you're playing, right?
Yeah.
And it's always kind of cool to go back to that, reminiscing about Adam years and Pee Wee years and things like that, right? For sure. And then going in, I was going to ask guys this because it's such a big part of minor hockey, especially at the AAA level. But how big was that minor midget year? Like when you look back on it now as a professional, I mean, it was probably a joke. You're like, oh my God, what a joke, But meaning at the time you had so much invested in it, and mentally and just emotionally, just on the draft, and probably every game you're seeing, pea coats and you're seeing clipboards in the stands. And what was that like as a young player going through that out of minor hockey in that minor midget year? And how much pressure did you put on yourself, and how did you handle that year as far as just, playing game by game?
Yeah, that's that was kind of the first real exposure you get to, scouts and being scouted and having to, to perform every night. And I think it's for sure, it's a little bit of an adjustment when you first kind of get adjusted to it. But it's like I said, we were lucky because we were we were a pretty good team going all the way up, and we always had a lot of attention around here because, like I said, we had a lot of success, and it was a lot of fun. We had a really good team that meshed well, and it's it's good to go through it because now as playing pro hockey, that's kind of the reality. I mean, every night there's people watching, and you don't know who's watching, so it's a tough year for sure, but it can be a lot of fun at the same time.
Oh, totally. And your dad, I mean, obviously your sister's older and kind of went through the girl side of hockey, but still a lot of pressure on her, and had a chance to get a scholarship and got that. What was your dad like in minor hockey? I know Mike's a good dude. He's an intense guy, loves hockey. And I think like any parent, he wants what's best for you, right? But how was he as far as, how was he going crazy behind the scenes in that minor midget year? Because I could just imagine you were a highly touted guy and had a chance to, go high in the draft and stuff. If you went out and laid an egg in a game and just played like shit, what was that like?
Yeah, he was, both my parents were unbelievable with me, growing up and, kind of putting me through the hockey stuff. And they're like, I can't thank them enough. And, my dad that year, because it was kind of his first kind of taste of all that too. So it's, like I said, it was kind of adjustment for everybody, but he was great with me, not getting too high and not getting too low. And, it helped me out a lot, and it was like I said, it was a lot of fun that year, and we ended up having a pretty good team and doing pretty well. So it was good for both me and my family.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And for your mom and dad both, I guess, and I know your dad, is obviously heavily involved and right there all the time. But what were some of the biggest emphasis that he put on that season for you? Was he hard on? And it could be, hey, we got to get, you got to get points. I mean, you're a goal scorer. That's why you're going to go to the O. You got to get points. Or was it more about, hey, you got to work hard and make sure that you're giving it every game, or hey, be a good teammate, be a leader? Like, were there certain things that your dad really kind of pushed with you or emphasized with you a little bit? Yeah,
for sure. I think the one thing in minor hockey is I think just working hard each game. I think obviously everyone wants to score goals, everyone wants to chip in and get assists, but to get to the next level of junior hockey, to get to pro hockey, I think, consistency is something that's huge along the way. And that was kind of something that he strived for me, is that, put your best foot forward each game and don't take a shift off. And I think that helped me out along the way. Yeah, for sure. And that consistency, you see it at the pro level. You play a lot more. You play a lot of games, and they're intense. And especially in the AHL, you get a lot of 3-on-3s, which is always a grind, right? But being able to, you see the true pros and why they are playing pro and why they are playing at the NHL level, is that consistency and being able to keep it. And I think that's huge, because at the minor hockey level, a lot of times it's a roller coaster ride, especially at the young ages, right? I'm sure your team did. You should have won games that you didn't win, and should have lost games that you won, right? But having that consistency, I think, is obviously a big piece of it too. And I mean, one thing that I can say about you is I've always found you a young, respectful young man. Even when you were in minor hockey, like you were, hey, thank you. Always a good kid. And I thought, looking back now, because I'm old as dust, but when I look back now, you were a guy who had goals. But I can honestly say that you worked your ass off to get to where you needed to go, and I think that was a huge thing. And now we fast forward to that minor midget season, the draft comes up. Then you guys, was it online at that point? You guys didn't have to go anywhere. It was online, yeah.
So you're just like hitting refresh on the old laptop.
Yeah, I was actually lucky enough. I knew.
Yeah, because you guys. Yeah, right. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the guy that went first, McFarland, was kind of slated to go first.
I'll get you to slide just a little closer because you
Yeah.
got a wicked radio voice. So I like hearing it in my ears.
Yeah, so McFarland was kind of the big name, and he was slated to go first, and then Erie, I think, told me they were taking me about I want to say maybe a week or two before the draft. So I was the nerves kind of went away once they told me that, and so I was down there, and it was more so just enjoyable knowing where I was going and
cool.
getting familiarized with everything. So I was actually in Erie at the time of the draft.
Because you were in the top 5, right? You went number 3, was it?
Second.
Sorry, yeah, okay. And then Ships went
3.
Yeah,
going
which is crazy,
Yeah,
right? And I know
yeah.
you guys are good buddies and
Yeah.
had obviously played. I'm sure playing with another young guy that's both highly touted guys. There's definitely some competition there. But
Sure.
you guys, as much as maybe sometimes dads have different agendas for their boys,
Yeah.
right? I think you guys always got along well and always had a good time and kind of played well together.
For sure. I think that kind of helped us out both, is that, we were both similar players
Yeah.
and, kind of ranked at similar spots at that point in time. And, if he got one, I'd want to get one.
Yeah.
And it was just we just kind of pushed each other along the way, but we were always good buddies. And, we kind of set the individual agendas aside and, focus on the team stuff. And I think we had a great group of guys. And like I said, that's a big part of our success in minor hockey.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, I mean, having, going that high in the draft too, like, you kind of get set up, like you said, you already knew that you're going to Erie. And
Yeah.
going to Erie, another kind of testament to who you are is, I mean, I'm sure you recalled other guys about going there, and not there's no knock on you, but a
Yeah.
lot of times at that point, Erie was not a hockey hotbed.
No.
Right? That was pre-McDavid.
Yeah.
That was, they were just kind of getting going a little bit. And, for you to say, yeah, I'll play anywhere. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Sudbury, Erie, Sioux, whatever. I just want to play. And then get an opportunity to go second overall is unreal. Like,
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. And then, you stuck it out there for pretty much most of your career, right? You got drafted out of there and played, some real good hockey, put up some good points there. And was basically a franchise guy there for the first bunch of years, right?
Yeah, Erie was, obviously back then, like you said, you heard the rumblings and the rumors about Erie and whatnot. And honestly, like getting there and meeting everybody, and it couldn't have been more of the opposite.
Yeah.
It was a great place for me. I had awesome billets. The whole Sean and Kathy Early, I still keep in touch with them. And
Oh, that's great.
the guy that called me is Sherry Basson.
Oh, yeah,
And Bass, one of the best guys for me in hockey. He was awesome. He treated me unreal from the time I got there, and the coaching staff was great. And it was a lot of fun in Erie, and I think it's a great spot to play. And obviously, it's gotten even better with, like you said, McDavid going there and things like that, and winning a championship.
Yeah.
Last year or 2 years ago, whatever it was, and the new rink and everything. So it's they're on the up for sure.
Oh, that's great, man. Yeah. And Boston ended up going on to the NHL as well, right? He was it LA that he went to?
Bass was where did he go? I think he was in Quebec doing something for like the Nordiques a while back, and then came back to junior hockey.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, and I mean, because you hear all these stories. I was just in I was doing some stuff for Hockey Canada, and there's a lot of talk about different kids, the dub draft, the Q draft, the O draft, and stuff, and players saying, "No, I'm not going to report there. I don't want to report there." And you think about, there are some cities that are more attractive, no doubt, right? But at the end of the day, if you want to play, I think it says a lot on character on guys that are just like, I don't care, I'll play anywhere, and kind of started to build something there that over the next bunch of years, you think you're 92, you played there for 3-4 years, and all of a sudden at the 97 age group, McDavid comes in there, and then they kind of keep that torch going and have made them a pretty competitive team in the last bunch of years, which is huge.
Yeah, it's like you said. I mean, I was there are more attractive places to play. That's the reality of it. But I think I loved it there. It was it's a top-notch organization, and I think I was fortunate enough to be able to go in there and experience that. And I don't regret going there. It was I had a lot of fun, met a lot of good people, and I think it helped my hockey career along the way.
For sure, yeah. Well, and basically, I mean, you basically changed Erie. You put Erie on the map.
yeah. I'd like to think so.
Yeah, well,
I'm not sure that's the case.
You're a modest guy, so I got to
right.
throw that shit in there every once in a while, right? No, that's great. And then, so you kind of go through that now, going into your second year. So you play your first year, obviously big adjustment, as far as being a young 16-year-old playing the O, having a lot of pressure on you as a second overall pick, no doubt. Going into your second year, how much different did you feel going in for that second year opposed to your first year? Just as far as confidence, a little swagger, you know what to expect.
Yeah, man, that first year is one of the toughest years I've had in hockey. Just I probably learned a ton.
Yeah.
But just going from minor hockey to junior hockey was just kind of a different animal at the
Yeah.
time for me. And like you said, I was a high pick, and I mean, I had a little bit of pressure, but it was just a tough adjustment for me. I wasn't playing a whole lot,
Yeah.
and geez, I was moving away from home. I was in a different country, and
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's only 4.5 hours away, but it felt like
Yeah.
a long ways away from me at the time. And I can remember calling my dad and being in tears, like wanting to come home, like this just isn't
Yeah.
working out for me.
Yeah.
And he's just stick it out if you want to. Just keep sticking it out because it'll turn. And lucky enough, my second year, it kind of took off for me there, and found a couple of great linemen I played with, and got more ice and gradually gained that confidence that you
Yeah.
talk about. And I think that's a huge thing. I think to be able to have that confidence and make plays, and it's just it was just a gradual kind of improvement for me, and it was a good spot my second year.
No, you bring up some good points where, and we don't think about this a lot, but when a kid gets drafted to the OHL, or let's say goes to play junior in Buffalo, right? We're talking a couple hours away, right across the border. But when you go to a different country, it's way different than Canada.
Oh, yeah.
And anyone that hasn't lived down in the States wouldn't really understand it, but you're literally driving 10 minutes over the border, and it's just a different country. So a little bit different rules. Things are a little bit differently. They do things different there, believe it or not. It's so different. Like, I had an opportunity to live in the States for years, and man, I loved it. I really did. But it's an adjustment. It's an adjustment period of understanding how things work, and it's a little bit different, and just different enough at 16. That's a lot of change, right? Moving away from home, and then on top of that, like you said, you're in a different country, and things are just a little bit different, right?
For sure. I mean, growing up, I was definitely a bit of a homebody. I still like to come home and still like my mom's cooking and things like that. And I was, I talked about my billets earlier. Lucky enough, I found a great billet family that took me in, and it was an awesome experience living with them. And even going from living in St. Thomas where there was 500 kids at the school, and going to Erie where there was 3,000.
It's crazy, right? Yeah.
The curriculum's different, and it was just it was an adjustment, but it was an experience that I don't regret, and it was a lot of fun.
When you first went to Erie, do you ever have any moments where you're sitting at your billet's house, let's say in your room, reading a book, playing video games, doesn't matter, and you're just sitting there, let's say it's like end of August, beginning of September, most of your buddies are still around home, and just sitting there and being like, I don't know if I want to do this, man. Like, and you're just thinking more so of like what all your buddies are doing right now back home. You're like, man, and just missing the shit out of St. Thomas, your buddies, your family. Because I know I went through it when I played junior, and there was a good 2-week period where I was like, oh man, I don't know about this. I don't know if this is like the right idea.
For sure, absolutely. I think it was more so my first year. It was, I remember I was in a huge slump to start the year, like
which really helps.
It was crazy. Like, I think I went. Honestly, it didn't take me. It took me 5 games to score my first goal.
Oh, no way.
I thought I was never scoring.
And you're a second overall pick, right?
Second overall pick. I was like, oh man, and I'm probably calling my dad every day, driving him crazy, and just stick with it. But those thoughts creep into your head. But that's what you have teammates for, and you meet new friends, and they help you out along the way. And I was a young guy and going through this experience for the first time, and it was it's not easy. I mean, nothing's easy in hockey, and I think it's just you got to stick with it, and a lot of it's a grind these days. You just got to grind it out. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's a process, and it's a fun process, but it takes a lot of hard work.
Yeah, and I think you got to get over those humps, right? I think after you got over that, I know for me, when I got over that 2-week, 3-week, a month in, got my routine and figured it all out. It was never a doubt in my mind that I wanted to go play as far as I could play, and I'm sure same as you. So this is part of the process, like you said. So I have to move away from home. It's one of those things I have to do. So you kind of suck it up. I'm sure. I know my parents were very like, buddy, if you don't want to come home, you can come home.
Yeah.
But if you come home, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Right. And I think for you, like, it's the same thing. You can come home if you want to come home, but you told us you want to play high level. Maybe you want to try to stick this out. And I mean, you see it now, or if you had a kid right now, you'd be like, buddy, you got to stick it out. Yeah. Trust me, it's going to get better. And it does get better,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think my parents were the same way. It's like, you can come home, but like, it'll be fun. It'll be good for the first day, but then what are you going to do, But it's, I think you do got to stick it out. I mean, it's a learning experience. You're going to be a better person for it, and it is tough. It's not easy going away. It's an adjustment for sure. But if you get in the right position, it can be a rewarding experience. Absolutely.
And for you now, now you're traveling on your own for the most part. Now you're going to go to, you got camp coming up soon. I know you're older now, but in the years after that, going to an NHL camp, a rookie camp, it was like, moving places, going to a different city, staying in a hotel for a couple of weeks, not a big deal, right? Like it got easier and easier and easier as you went. And that kind of all got set up by that first 16-year-old year. That was a grind.
Yeah.
And even going through a slump, you talk a 25-game slump is, for a goal scorer who came out of midget lighting it up. And, that's a long stretch. Like, you're talking almost 2 months of hockey probably. And every game is like, when's it going to happen? Then it doesn't, it's not going to happen if you keep thinking that way. So it's everything you're touching is turning into just rock. Right?
Oh, it was like pucks exploding off my twig. Just like everything, like disallowed goal here. Like everything you can imagine. It was insane. And you learn from it. You absolutely learn from it. And it's not a lot of fun, but
no, for sure.
You just got to keep going to practice each day and, doing a little extra, working on things. And I think, you just got to enjoy the process as hard as it is.
Yeah.
You just take one day at a time and enjoy the process and, getting better in practice, working with skills coach and things like that is key.
Yeah. And I think, when you're in the process, you're like, get me the F out of this process because it sucks, right? Yeah. And as you're older, you look back and like, okay, I get it now. That's why this happened, right? Yeah. Now I can deal with this. Now I can deal with other things, And I think that's a big thing. So you go from being a first round flop to no, but then going into your second year, like you said, you got way more swagger. Yeah. You're kind of ready. You feel more comfortable and stuff. And then now it's kind of the bigger stage, right? Now you're on that NHL draft, stage, and it's that's a big year for you. And what was it like going into that year? Maybe talks with your dad in the summer or your agent or whoever. But all right, this is kind of my goal, and maybe I want to not. Maybe I would want to try to score in the first 25 games this year. No, but I mean, what was that process like as far as, okay, this is a big year and obviously you did well your first year overall. And, now there's a little bit of, I think probably self expectations on yourself are like, I want to get drafted, right?
Yeah. I really set myself up nice, a whopping 18 points my first year, one in my draft year. But, no, for sure. I think, I just, then again, it's kind of like the OHL draft. Now it's your NHL draft, and then everything's just, keeps getting bigger and bigger. But it's tough not to think about. Like at that year, it's always in the back of your head. But no, I definitely had more confidence. I had a great summer of training, and it's like it kind of opened my eyes up my first junior year. You need to do more. You got to keep getting better, and I think you can't stay stagnant. You got to keep evolving, and like I said, I found two good linemen that I played with throughout the year, and we just kind of clicked right off the bat and got the ball rolling, and it was just a good year from then on forward.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really good. And then let's kind of fast forward before we get to your draft, though. Before we talk about actually getting drafted, because that's awesome. How did you score your first goal after that 25-game drought? Do you remember?
I honestly think it was a wide open cage. I forget
was
what
it an empty
exactly
net
happened.
And a game empty net, or like someone dished over the empty net?
Someone dished over. He went off the goalie's pad. I can it was against St. Mike's for sure, and I ended up scoring back-to-back games. So then now I'm on a tear. But no, it was just one of those that popped out, and like I couldn't miss it, and then finally just
And how'd that feel? How'd that feel?
It was great. I think my family might have been down. I was lucky. My family came every weekend to see me, so they were. I was super fortunate for that, and it was. It was a lot of fun to finally get the monkey off the back.
Oh, that's cool. And I mean, you talk about it being hard to be away, playing, in Erie your first year. Can you imagine how hard it was on your dad? He had minor hockey every weekend. He had 2 practices a week he was going to. Like, he was right into it, and all of a sudden, nothing. And now he's, got to try to go watch games. He probably went through a little withdrawal as well.
Oh, for sure he did. But honestly, I think they would probably see 55 to 60 games a year.
That's pretty cool, man.
They were unreal.
Awesome.
They also had a lot of fun coming to games for sure.
Yeah.
But no, it was they were awesome. They were super supportive, and it was like I said, there was a good group of families there for the team, and they'd all get at the same hotel, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. So then go kind of second year, you go to done your year, obviously have a good year. And then what's the draft like? Like, leading up to it, obviously you're nervous and you're not sure. It's a little different than the OHL draft and kind of where you sit or where you're going to get drafted. Did you end up going to the draft that year? Did you physically go to it?
Yep, I went to the draft. I was kind of like one of those bubble guys where you would go or you don't go to the draft, because I was about maybe late second, early third, somewhere in there, and you never know what's going to happen.
For sure.
You've seen horror stories of guys sitting there for hours and
Yeah.
hours, but I had a good idea where I was going to go, and you know, at that point in time, I think it's kind of a family achievement, and so it was nice that my family could come and experience it with me.
That's
and,
a cool way to look at it. That's a really cool way to
yeah,
look
so
at
it was, it was, you know, and it was kind of like a vacation. Like I was lucky enough that the draft was in LA, so we
Cool.
could go do a few things, and it was a lot of fun, and ended up getting drafted to Toronto in about the third round, right where I was supposed to go, and just, you know, kind of worked out, and we had a lot of fun.
Oh, that's cool. Was it pretty nerve-wracking going through that third round though? Because you're hoping, right? Or even the late second, probably,
Yeah.
maybe, and then third, you're kind of hoping, but not sure. And as the picks start falling and picks are going through, is it nerve-wracking to see like, oh man, like, you know, is it going to be next? Is it going to be next? Is it going to be next?
Yeah, I remember that second round ended. I was like, all right. Now it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
this is where you're supposed to go, somewhere around in, you know, late, wherever
Yeah.
it was, and you know, it's for sure nerve wracking, but I mean, it might have been like the second pick in the third round or so. I forget what it was, but it was it happened quick, and almost didn't even have time to think about when you start slipping, and you hear
Yeah.
horror stories of that. But
Yeah.
no, I was sweating a little bit. I'm sure my my armpits were getting a little sweaty there, but I was leaking through my dress
Yeah.
shirt. But you know, once you hear your name called, it's a pretty big relief, and
Oh, totally.
yeah, it was a good experience.
Oh, that's awesome. And even just getting drafted in any of the 7 rounds is
Yeah, for
unbelievable,
sure.
really. And
Yeah.
I love what you said about it's a kind of a family achievement
Yeah.
because everybody gave up, you know, everyone gave up
Yeah.
something to help and to be a part of it and all that stuff. And it's pretty cool to take it all in together. And yeah, I mean, I can't imagine how much of a proud moment it was for your parents, for sure. You know, just, man. And, you know, now you can, if you never played a game of pro in your entire life, you can always say, I was drafted to the NHL, which is
Yeah.
pretty sick,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. It was-
And you got a jersey, a Toronto jersey with your name on the back of it. You can hang up in
yeah,
the bar.
it's actually funny. I remember I got drafted to Toronto, and we were like, because I'm in St. Thomas, so
Yeah.
it's usually either Wings,
Yeah, for sure.
or
yeah.
Leafs.
Oh yeah.
And we were on the Wings side.
Oh,
we
no.
hated the Leafs. Like my dad hated them growing up. It was just
That's awesome.
And so I get drafted by Toronto, and my dad gets a text from his buddy who's a diehard Habs fan. Like I must have got, it might not have been in 5 minutes. I just request a trade, like already get out of there. But it was funny. It was all good, and
Yeah.
it was just a lot of fun that weekend.
So did your dad convert right away to Toronto fan? Or
Oh
did he-
yeah.
Yeah.
He for sure.
You got the foam finger and the pom poms
Yeah,
all night.
yeah. I think anytime your father and your son gets drafted, I'm sure it's you convert pretty quick.
Yeah, well, for sure. Start looking up the roster, see where he fits in.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And then, I mean, obviously throughout that, so that all happens, which is amazing. And then throughout that process is stressful for sure. It's a good stress because there's going to be something that comes out of it, hopefully, right? And even if not, you're still touted as one of the top 200 guys or 300 guys, which is amazing, you know? And then going from there, what was your first because you would have went probably draft and then development camp pretty quick after, right? So what was that like as far as going in your first pro, going from junior hockey to now you're in your first pro development camp? And just kind of being with a lot of other 92s, a lot of other guys your age that you played against, so you know. And then also just the different tier of going from junior hockey to that professionalism at even development camp, right? Free swag. There's tons of stuff. It's just like you're in a cool practice facility. Like, man, what is this, right?
Yeah. I mean, especially, you're in Toronto, like the hockey mecca. So you know, it's a quick turnaround from the draft. It's like, I think mine was a week or two right after. And
Yeah.
yeah, as you talk about the swag, actually, it's funny because it's nice though, because a lot of the guys you go in development camp with, you might have played with in junior hockey. So it's, everyone's kind of in the same boat. And, but yeah, I remember in Toronto, it was just, you open the drawers and it just gets shorts and you're just stuff in your bag. Like, I probably have stuff I've never worn still, but it's, that was, development camp was a lot of fun. You pick up a lot of good stuff in the summer there, and it's a cool experience again. And it's, it was a fun and exciting time that summer.
They're long days. Like those development camps,
yeah.
man. Like, because I've done them for years now, and it's just it's a long day on the young guys, long day on the coaches, everybody, right? But it's just it is a long day. But it's funny. Like some of these organizations that are very generous. You get. I mean, I'm sure dad, uncle, everyone's outfitted in Toronto stuff when you first got back. Everyone's just pumped to see you got your bag, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's, I remember even buddies were, driving up with me. Can you grab me a shirt? It's pretty funny.
Yeah. And then fast forward, I guess, to now going to like rookie camp and then main camp. What was it like to your first main camp, being on the ice with these NHLers and the guys that obviously you watch play, and just seeing how they interact, see how they move, see how they skate, see how they do, kind of what was that like as a young guy, experiencing that for the first time?
Yeah, I remember always hearing about guys going away to camp, and I was like, man, like that's it seems pretty crazy. You're going to be on the ice with all these guys you watch growing up and stuff, and it's your first camp is another huge eye opener. It's just like, wow, these guys are so big and so strong and so fast, and it's cool experience to be on the ice with them. I mean, you're kind of wide eyed when you first get out there for your first camp, but it was a ton of fun. It was they made you feel comfortable right off the bat, which was nice. And it was, like I said, you're in Toronto again, so I mean, camp, media. So it was something like I haven't really seen before, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, was there anybody at that first? And I'm going to talk about the Leafs a little bit because everyone loves the Leafs in this area. Like you said, Detroit Leafs, basically. Anybody when you jumped on the ice with them for the first time, is there anybody that you looked at and you're like, holy, this guy's way better or way bigger or way different than what I thought I saw on TV? Is there anyone that stood out like, man, this guy's like legit?
Yeah, I remember it might have even been before camp. I went down a little bit early, but it was in some sort of scrimmage, and you get on the ice with Kessel and you watch him skate and you watch him shoot a puck, and it's like, whoa, like this is a different level that you've ever seen, and it was. He run one off the crossbar. I was like, whoa! Like it was pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, and he's a guy. He's one of those guys. I don't love a lot of things about Phil Kessel, but I really respect his skill set, and his shot's unbelievable. And he's the type of guy who in my opinion, and you know him way better than I do. You played with him again in Pittsburgh, but just leave me alone. Just let me get 30, 40 tucks, and just don't bug me. Like, don't ask what I ate. Don't check my body fat. Just let me get you goals and leave me alone. I may bitch a bit. I may whine a bit. I don't want to be at the rink very long, but just leave me alone, right? Like, kind of. Like,
he's unbelievable. The skill set he has, and I mean, you look at his resume now. A couple Cubs.
It's unreal. Yeah.
Like, point of game guy. Like he's pretty special player.
Yeah. And on the flip side of that, is there anybody that you saw in Toronto that? Not necessarily that they're terrible, but like, oh man, they're way smaller than I thought, or they're not quite like maybe you picture them as a different type of player. But anybody that stood out on the other side of that, being, maybe man, I thought he was a grinder and his skill sick, or I thought he was a sick player and he's actually a grinder. You know what I mean? Like anybody that kind of like you were on the ice with them, like, holy, this guy's a little bit different than what I thought. Maybe you were shoulder to shoulder with him and you thought he was a 6'3" guy. And you're like, man, I'm just as tall as he is.
Yeah, that's funny. I'm trying to think. There's one guy that comes to mind that he was. Yeah, you're right. He was like a little tinier than I thought. I'm like, wow, but I can't think of his name. But there's always a few of those guys that,
especially in the locker room, right? When you see him ripping around, you're like, man, I thought you were like, massive. And not a knock. It's just, man, I thought like even when I first it was years ago now, I saw Sidney Crosby, and I mean, I obviously fit and like huge butt on him, huge legs on him, but his upper body wasn't like that big, which is the kind of the normal normal type of hockey players these days. And I wasn't like whoa, but I was like, oh man, like totally like if you just cut his legs off, he looks like a normal dude, right? Like a very fit normal dude, but. Sometimes you think of these guys when they're playing and how hard they play and how they, with the contact, all that stuff, the beating some of these guys taking, you think, man, he must be just massive. And then some of these guys come on, you're like, wow.
Yeah, it's funny because they take off, their shoulder pads and they're just in their shirts, and it's like, whoa, like this guy's not 210,
right?
What it says, you know what I mean? But it's funny. There's a few there. I forget who it was, but there's a few, and he's just like skinny arms, but then he gets on the ice like. This guy's flying, he's crushing guys. Like it's really
crazy
to
see. It's really cool to see, like, especially as you at 18, you're young, right?
Yeah.
And then now you got kind of a sneak peek at behind the scenes on a lot of this stuff, which is really cool, for anyone who's been drafted and gone to a main camp, it's really cool to see that whole like, holy smokes, this is so, you get a real perspective on what it's like,
Yeah, it's funny. So you do that and then you go back to junior and it's like, now you have that extra that confidence, and now it's because you're coming back from an NHL camp, you're skating at that pace for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and you kind of have that extra gear, which is nice.
And you got that, you're on the ice with NHL guys. You got that 35-year-old with 3 kids and a soother in his wallet by accident, and then you go back to junior. You got a 16-year-old kid who's still carrying a soother because he needs it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's so
yeah.
different, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's-
you got the whole gamut of
Yeah.
like 16 to 35, 40 as far as the age group there in a matter of a week.
Yeah, it's that in itself is a whole other it's a whole other level, and it's there's opposite ends of the spectrum for sure.
Yeah.
And it's funny how it works.
Yeah. Now, so you go back to Erie, obviously, and then play that 19-year-old year there, and obviously have another really really good year, and then some things happen over the course where you end up getting traded, right?
Yep.
And then you get now when you did get traded, was there a talk with you a little bit about, hey, someone's like, this team's interested in you, this team's interested in you.
Yep.
Are you interested in going to another OHL team? Like, was there kind of talked with you a little bit about that?
Yeah, there was a little bit. So it was in my fourth year, and me in Erie, we were at the bottom. We weren't having a good year, and we weren't going to make the playoffs. And it was my last year, and it just had made sense that for Erie moving forward to trade me and get some young guys and get some picks. And so I ended up getting traded to London.
Yeah.
Basically my hometown, and
It's awesome. Yeah.
yeah, like Bass and really really helped me out there. I was living at home. It was just a perfect situation for me. There was a great team in London.
Yeah.
We ended up winning the OHL championship and losing double overtime in Schwinnigan, and it was it was an awesome experience, and to get to play in London was really cool.
Pretty cool way to finish out too, right?
Yeah.
Playing at home and then going to the Memorial Cup and having a good run. That was the year that Schwinnigan got knocked out, I think, the first round or something, right? And they ended up like just skating and getting ready for and then they ended up running the table at the Memorial Cup, and
It seems to happen more and more now.
Yeah.
But they just, I mean, for whatever reason, they I don't know, they just seem to keep pushing forward, and guys healed up.
Yeah.
And peaked
Yeah,
at the
that's huge too, right?
time,
Yeah.
And had lots of rest, and it was they had a good team, and they ended up beating us, and
yeah.
I think Housie could have had that one. But no, it was.
And if Hauser was here right now, you'd let him know.
Yeah, for sure I would. That. But no, it was a lot of fun. We had a great team and a great group of guys.
The line, I think one of the lines of the summer this year was when you hit him in the head and you said, well, he got pissed, and and Hauser's a pretty good kid. Like, he's a pretty good dude as far as a goalie getting hit in the head and stuff. He's like, I think he said something like, well, then you shouldn't have been a goalie.
Yeah. Well, Hauser complains a lot in that net.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in the summertime.
Sneaky a bit too. Right? A little sneaky. Just as you're skating by, I'll give it to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I knew I was in the wrong for sure there, but I wasn't going to let him get away with that one. But no,
you guys all, at least once every couple skates, you guys get into a good little verbal match with each other. It's hilarious, man.
For sure. Because you score one goal on him, and it's obviously not his fault. So, no, I'm kidding. But it's a lot of fun in the summer. We have a good group of guys that we skate with.
It's all, no, for sure. No, it's great. And then following kind of your OHL career, obviously had a great career, finished it off with a good run in the Memorial Cup and stuff. And then now you get a chance to play pro, and what was it like that first? I mean, obviously, you kind of signed a contract, you had that all inked, it was good. Mm-hmm. And then actually showing up at the rink and knowing that you're going to have a shot at an NHL contract, which, maybe didn't happen the first year, but playing in the A and then, getting paid to play hockey. What was that like as far as just kind of making that next step, that next jump in your career, I guess, but, going to the rink every day, and that's basically your full-time job? Yeah,
it was, again, it was kind of similar, like that step from minor hockey to junior. Now it's junior to pro, and it's again it's a different animal, and again, you got to learn how to take care of yourself, and it's because you're on your own. There's not a billet family making you dinners, or there's no curfew. Like it's on your own. So it's another adjustment, but like you said, there's older guys that kind of show you and mold you how to be a good pro each day. And I was lucky enough to play with a lot of good pros and pick up things along the way.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And was it kind of cool to get like your first actual paycheck?
Yeah.
Is it like, whoa?
Other than the OHL paychecks we were getting, but no, it's something, you kind of dream of as a kid, getting to be able to, play hockey for a living and to actually get paid is something crazy, and it's just something everyone falls in love with.
Oh, for sure.
Sport, and it's to do it as a full-time job is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. And what was it like living in Toronto? Because you were playing for the Marlies, right? Mm-hmm. And how'd you like? How was Toronto to first of all, it's a city pretty fun, I'm assuming. Like
Toronto is an awesome city. I'm glad I got to live there for a few years, and coming from St. Thomas again, it's like
it's a little different.
It's the downtown in St. Thomas is a little different than you know, the CN Tower in
I was
Toronto.
going to say, they got about a 5-story building. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah. So
skyscraper
it's,
there. Yeah.
It took a little bit of getting used to. I remember the first few weeks there, it's, you know, it's, you got to take into account the traffic and everything.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit getting used to, but it was a great city. It was a great place to play. It's obviously passionate hockey base,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of fun to play there each day.
What's the media like there? Was it even around the Marlies,
Yeah.
right? Like you guys are in the paper every day. You're on the radio. It's unbelievable. Like,
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
you know, it's everywhere, and I think that's what's so special about it. And it's you know, they help you. It's nice because the team helps you along the way. You know, it's, you know, tells you what to say, how to handle things, and it's a lot of fun. It was a great experience, and it's funny now that I've played on a few different teams. You pick up things along the way,
Yeah.
and how to handle certain situations. So it was pretty cool.
no, that's awesome. And I don't, we won't go through your entire career, but I mean, you played 90-something games in the NHL, which is awesome. You played, 4 or 5 years or 6 years of pro now, I think. And obviously established yourself as a guy who's really close to getting that opportunity, right? And
Yep.
one stop on your career so far that I want to talk about a little bit is Pittsburgh. Last year you went there, made it out of training camp. Had an unreal start this season, played a lot of games, and had a good impact there. And then things happen. You know, they're trying to load up for the playoffs or for a run maybe, and you know your name gets thrown into a deal. But you know, you played there at a time when, you know, obviously they got crazy superstars. What was that like? First of all, going to camp, you know, first camp in Pitt with all these guys there and stuff. You know, what was the vibe like when you you know, kind of getting there and getting dressed in that locker room with a bunch of these guys?
Yeah, that was crazy because obviously, you know, they're coming off back-to-back cups.
Yeah.
And, you know, you got Malkin, Crosby, all these guys
Yeah.
in the room, and it's you're on the ice skating with them, and it's unbelievable to watch these guys work in and day out. And you know, there's a reason these guys are, you know, back-to-backs and, you know, Hart trophies and scoring titles and stuff. It was awesome to learn from those guys and be able to practice them each day was a great experience, and I had a lot of fun doing it, and it was just it was something that you learned a lot from.
Any big takeaways from a guy like Crosby? Like, you know, there's always talk about him being such a good leader, and obviously they, you know, they've done phenomenal, you know, with him as a captain, and Malkin's unbelievable. They got a really good supporting cast, and they're even Letang and guys like that. You know, was there anything that you leave Pittsburgh, like that time in Pittsburgh, and say, man, like I've changed this because of him a little bit, or who doesn't have to be him, but whoever. But some of these high end guys that you played with, and you've had a chance to play with some real good guys in Tampa and Florida and obviously Pittsburgh. But anything that you take away from guys like Crosby and be like, man, this is why he is who he is, and I got to start doing something like this.
Well, it's funny. You know, I mean, first up, the guy, like, he's an awesome guy. Like, made me feel comfortable right away, and like everything you see about him is, you know, seems to be like that. He's just a super nice guy, down to earth. You would never know that, you know, he's the best hockey player in the world if you didn't know him.
He's East Coaster. Those East Coast guys are unreal.
He's he was awesome. And you know, watching, you know, it's funny because everyone sees him score those behind the net or, you know, bat one in, and it seemed like every day he was doing that in practice. He'd do something like that in practice or working on something. Like, it's not a fluke that he scores goals every way he does, and it was something that I picked up because he's always working on around the net and things like that after practice, before practice, and it's, like I said, it's not a fluke that, you know, he tips one in from the side or, you know, bats one in or scores from behind the net. It's just every day the guy's working on something.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And you know, we take it for granted because you look at the highlight reels and you see Pavelski tip a puck in that was 7 feet wide and he hooks it in, or Crosby batting a puck out of the air, and then you peel back the layers of that and you're like, and he works on this. Like, Pavelski tips pucks. Crosby works on that 5 foot radius around the net and in the net, and like he, you know, he's good in that area. He's good all over. Don't get me wrong, but even down low, like, you watch how he protects the puck and how he does that. But you see clips of him in the summer, he's doing it. You see clips of him at practice, he's working on it. You know, and you know, going back to, you know, tying this back into you, but I mean, I think that's one thing that's allowed you to have this success. Guys like, you know, we talked about these 1%ers, but guys like Crosby and Doughty and these high end guys, I mean, they've got this skill set, and you know, they're just, you know, now you combine that with work ethic like Crosby, and that's off the charts. You know what I mean? So when you bring it back to like young pros like yourself, I mean, you spend a lot of time on certain parts of your game, which I think is huge. And last year for me, I was really proud of you because getting that opportunity, it's such a good team, coming back off after winning back-to-back cups, getting a good 30 or 40 games in with them and playing a good role. It was like, man, this is amazing, you know? And then unfortunately things, you know, we ended up moving to Carolina, but it happens. It's part of the game. Like you said, part of the process. It's out of your hands. It's not like you say, guys, I'm going to turn that down. Actually, I like my locker. I'm going to stick around.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not in that position.
Yeah.
But no, I'm really fortunate I got to play there and experience that and learn the stuff I did. Coaching staff was great, and each day was intense, and it was fun to be there, and it was you can really see like why they do so well, why they compete every year, and it's just it was a huge learning experience, and a different way of thinking of the game, and it was you got to be ready to go each day. Each practice was intense. And it was good to experience that.
Who's the most vocal guy in that locker room? Like if you guys had, 4 games in 6 nights or 7 nights, and guys are getting tired and grinding it out, who are some of the more vocal guys that would step up and say, or when the team needed to be addressed? Was there anybody that kind of stood out that would kind of take that in the locker room leadership role? Just a couple words of kind of, hey boys, let's get her going here.
Yeah, I mean there's so many leaders in that locker room.
Yeah,
right? But I think it. I mean, I was only there a short time, so I didn't get to experience it a ton. But from when I was there, I mean, I think you look towards Crosby. I mean, he's been the best player in the world for how long, and I think when he says something, you take it pretty seriously, and it was cool to be able to experience that for a few months and kind of take that in, and he's when something needs to be said, I think he was the guy.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's really cool. It's neat, when you look at a hockey journey, let's say from minor hockey to junior hockey to pro. I mean, every stop along the way, whether it's minor midget to junior to pro, you kind of take a little bit of, some things here and there. Maybe you played with a real good captain in junior and you take some stuff from him, or maybe you played with a really shitty leader who treated all the 16-year-olds like shit, and you're like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that guy, right? But all these things along the way help mold. Obviously, as young kids, I think our parents do a big job of molding who we are and kind of how we're going to start. But, all these experiences and how you deal with these experiences, I think, are a huge piece of who you are right now and how you continue to kind of persevere and push and keep moving forward. So, I think I'm for me, just as a complete outsider with no marbles in the game at all. I'm looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to camp for you this year, and I think it's going to be exciting for you. Now going into camp, last couple of questions here, but going into camp, what's your mentality this year after being a pro who's been around for a while? You kind of know what you want. You're modest about it. You don't talk about it much, but what's your mindset going into this camp as far as? Clearly, you want to steal a spot, and you want to take a spot, but how are you going to approach kind of going in and day by day as you guys get moving?
Yeah, it's I've seen it been in the position the last few years where you got to go in and earn a spot, and I mean for whatever reason I was able to do that the last couple of years and be on opening night rosters, which was awesome, and you got to do it again. You got to prepare yourself to do that again. And I think. It comes down to consistency again. You got to be ready to go right off the bat in each game, putting your best foot forward. And I think you got to get in that, you got to get out of that summer mentality into your winter mentality pretty quick. And I think, and it's the same for everyone. Everyone's got to get into that mindset. But, I think for a guy that's, obviously has to earn a spot, it's something that you got to jump into pretty quickly. And, it happens quick, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And I think, you talk about getting in that winter mentality. Fortunately for some guys, they have a little bit longer time to do that. You look at the high-end guys on big contracts, they're going to have a couple weeks, a month to kind of get fit into the, that gameplay. But guys like yourself and a lot of guys, they got to be ready to go. And that's why you see more guys skating in the summer. And, and I think when you look at, what you've done this summer, you're fit. You're obviously taking care of your nutrition. You rested up. You've skated a lot. You're working a lot of skill stuff, skating in the scrimmage with the guys. You've got to hit that. You got to almost be in like December, January, ready to make that roster, right? And kind of steal some jobs there.
For sure. I think, we're lucky here in London, at TPH, and it's just, you go from the gym and you go right on the ice. It's all set up for us here, and it's helped us out to be ready for that, first skating camp and, fitness testing. So I think, for a guy like myself, I can't just kind of dip my toe in the water. I got to jump right in and be ready to go.
Yeah. And I mean, do you have that little voice in your head saying like, I'm stealing that. I'm stealing that guy's job. Like I'm taking that guy. Because I remember when I played, like, I knew what I was, and I it was kind of that second, third, fourth line guy is fine, right? I know that's a big gap there, but depending on where I was, but I was like, I want that third guy's job. I want that second line guy's job. And not that I didn't like the guy. I liked the guy a lot, but I always had that goal of like, I'm just trying to steal that guy's job. Maybe it happened, maybe it didn't happen, but that was always, I think going into a camp like that, you're friendly and cordial with everybody, but it's like, wait a second, I need to steal that.
You have to. I think you have to have that, or else it's funny because you're on the same team, you're in the same organization, but like it's pretty competitive out there for camp. Like you're kind of fighting for your life out there, and I think it's the hockey window is like not as big as everyone thinks. Like it's you have certain term you got to jump in there, and I think you have to be ready to go each and every day you get an opportunity.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and even like. Already, I mean, I think it's 6 years for you, right?
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it doesn't. You're not old, and that's you've already played a lot of pro hockey, man, which is amazing, right? So, but you're right. Like now, you've got opportunities, and you can't be like, I kind of blew that one. I'll wait till next year. You always want to. Yeah. There's always a new crop of drafts. There's always a new bunch of Euros coming over. There's always a new bunch of players from everywhere. So you got to be ready, and not to put any pressure on you.
Yeah.
You're gonna leave here and be like, oh God, what am I doing?
I'm not sleeping tonight. But it's like it's crazy. You mentioned it earlier on in this is that like these young kids now are skating all the time, and everyone's on their A game like 12 months of the year, and it's crazy how much it is a 12-month job now. But it's a lot of fun. Like I said, you got to enjoy the process, but it's you got to be ready to go when your name's called, and it's because you never know when you might get that next opportunity.
Yeah, but I think too one of the things with guys like yourself, and there's a lot of guys that. There's going to be young guys that are going to come in that are going to be super talented. Mm-hmm. But how do you separate yourself from that? Okay, so are you going to try to learn all those same skills that they have? No, you're a different player, so you got to really be good at what you're good at. Maybe it's face-offs, it's wall play, it's shooting the puck, dishing the puck. But also on top of that, and you've played a lot of guys, be a good guy. Right? Sure. Be a respectful guy. Yeah. Be a guy that, like, all of a sudden Carolina's looking to make this trade and they talk to maybe their captain, like, oh, Kegger's a wicked dude, man. You got to bring him over here. He's awesome. He'll be great for the locker room. And those are things that help guys push their career a little bit longer, too, is just that being a good guy, being a pro, being fit, being ready, but also just the character things that we don't think of sometimes.
Absolutely.
And, you played a lot of guys that are real skilled that just never lasted, right?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. I think I've played on a lot. I've been fortunate to play on a lot of good teams with a lot of great guys, and I think having those intangibles of coming to work every day and working hard, but also having fun with it and keeping it light and ramping it up when it needs to be. And I've played with a lot of good leaders, and I've been able to learn off and pick a few things, and it's I've been fortunate in that regard.
Oh, that's cool. We'll finish up with a couple quick questions, but. With kind of summer and off season and stuff, even during the season, what are some things that you like doing away from the rink? So something that kind of keeps you occupied, maybe gets your mind off hockey, but stuff that you enjoy doing.
I love beating Hauser in golf. I have a bunch of buddies, and I just play at home in St. Thomas, and we play a ton, and we have a lot of fun with it. And that's if I'm not at the rink or in the gym, I'm playing golf.
Yeah, no, that's which is awesome. And what are you shooting on average?
I've been playing at St. Thomas for a while, so I'm around a scratch there now. So I've been playing there forever, and my parents were dropping me off when I was 8 years old every summer day for the whole day. So it was pretty cool. I've been fortunate there.
Oh, that's awesome. And then as far as playing other sports growing up, did you I mean obviously golf, but did you play any other sports while you were growing up in high school or even elementary?
You know what? I was always playing some sort of sport.
Yeah.
And I played obviously hockey, and then I would play soccer and golf. But I think when I kind of got older, I was playing hockey and then golf and competitive golf in the summer. But I think it's important to play a ton of sports when you're young and kind of get out there and do different things. And it's I was always doing some, which was really cool.
What was the age where with soccer and let's say baseball and other things like that? What was the age where you kind of made that decision that and maybe it was young and you played those other things just as a cross sport, but was there one age where you're like, hockey's my number one? Like there's no doubt.
I think I always knew that hockey was the thing I wanted to pursue. Yeah. But I want to say around maybe 10 or 11 is when I kind of pushed everything else to the side and like really, really kind of got after it with hockey and skating a lot and doing getting into power skating and things like that. And
Yeah.
you know, I did know from a young age that hockey was something I would like to pursue for sure.
And then if you played other sports beyond that, it was probably more like cross training. Have fun, obviously,
Yeah.
but play with your buddies. But
Exactly.
it's more like,
It
we'll
was-
go play soccer because we can run a lot and get in shape or whatever, right?
It was, you know, just kind of, you know, stuff to do in the meantime. But hockey was always the serious sport. And
Yeah.
I played a ton of sports growing up, but like you said, hockey was the one that I knew I wanted to pursue.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Listen, Kegger, I want to thank you a lot for coming in, man. It was awesome to get a chance to chat with you. And we wish you the best of luck this year, man. It's going to be, I think it'll be a good year. So
Thanks a lot. Thanks
All right,
for
thanks,
having me.
buddy.
This was awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right.